Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Rashmi Singla. Today I'll be delivering you a lecture on first aid and physical fitness. Physical injuries can occur during various physical activities like military training, during gym training, during sports and during athletic activities. So here are some pics which are showing you the physical activities during which the injuries can occur. You can see this female jumping on the box and this hurdle race training. Then on the net, climbing. Then soldiers marching. So first aid by Medico, and these are different types of first aids which are being given. You can see here. Now, what are the type of injuries? Like knee trauma can occur during playing or during any type of training. Then runner leg injury can occur during fast walking or during any physical training. Ankle injury and joint pain can occur. When ligaments are stretched, when ligaments or muscles they get stretched, torn or twisted, a sprain or strain occurs in the muscle and it is mainly caused due to extreme level of force applied to a joint during any accident, exercise or workout. So here the crepe bandage will help to exert compression, flood blood circulation and reduce the swelling in pain. Joints such as elbow, knee, ankle, wrist, they can be strained during any physical activity. Then shoulder pain can occur, hamstrings pain, lower back pain, combat zone, in the war zone, injuries can occur. And this is amputee soldier whose limb is amputated. Then gunshot wounds during war. Now let us talk about wound care. Wound dressing is a sterile compress that protects a wound from microorganisms and promotes healing. Wet dressings accelerate the wound healing process by skin re-epithelialization. Dry gouges do not have this property. Then there is a dressing called Bactigras. This consists of a cotton lino-weave fabric impregnated with soft paraffin containing 0.5% water by water chlorhexidine acetate. Chlorhexidine is an antimicrobial agent that is active against wide range of gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria, but inactive against spores, fungi and viruses. It is more effective against gram-positive than gram-negative organisms, and some species of Pseudomonas and Proteus are of limited sensitivity. This dressing absorbs, channels and traps exudate and helps to keep it protected from bacterial infestations. Now this is a picture of severed finger, second degree burns. This pic is showing. Then third degree burns. Now first degree burns do not blister and only involve the top layer of skin. And second degree burns, they also called partial thickness burns. They affect the outermost layer of skin and extend to the middle skin layer below. In a third degree burn, the damage completely destroys the thick layer of skin and reaches the fatty tissue underneath. So what are the steps in treating burns? Soothe the burn by running cool water over it for at least 20 minutes, making sure that the water is running over the burn rather than directly on it. After you have cooled the burn, cover the affected area with non-fluffy sterile dressing such as bandages. Now this is the pic showing you how to run under tap water and how to bandage it. Then stiffeners on legs with crutches, where we need support to walk. We apply crutches and stiffeners. Then walking in rehab among parallel rods. This is one form of physical rehabilitation. Then effect of exercise on body: address the skeletal muscles and relatively low metabolic needs. In adults, although the skeletal muscles account for 40% of the total body weight, they utilize only 20 to 30% of oxygen taken up by the body. During exercise, the muscles perform work and their metabolic requirement increase. The oxygen consumption of the skeletal mass may rise from 75 ml per minute to as much as 3000 ml per minute in severe exercise, a 40-fold increase. There is increase in ventilation, and the associated rise in body temperature initiates a reflex vasodilatation of the skin vessels that promote heat loss. Now this is the pic of muscles in the body, showing the muscles of the chest, pectoral muscles. Then we have shoulder muscles, abdominal muscles, muscles of the arms and legs. Now what happens during exercise? This improves transfer of oxygen from blood to tissues. At low work rates, the energy requirements are met chiefly by aerobic metabolism, and exercise can be maintained for a considerable period of time. At high work rates, anaerobic metabolism contributes as increasing fraction of the energy requirements, and fatigue sets in relatively quickly due to accumulation of lactate. Exercise creates positive mood and reduces coronary heart disease. So this is the benefit of exercise. Now, effect of training on body. Physical performance is improved by regular training. Training affects the bone, connective tissue and muscle mass of the limbs. In response to stress of exercise, the bone becomes remodeled so that the stressed areas have a greater level of mineralization, therefore higher strength. In prolonged immobility, the bone becomes progressively demineralized and more brittle. During training, cartilage of the joints become thicker so that it is more compliant. This is the knee joint, showing you patella, kneecap, articular cartilage which lines the bones, acts as a shock absorber, synovial membrane which secretes synovial fluid and which serves to lubricate the joint. Ligaments are there surrounding the joints. These are strong bands of tissue that stabilize the joint, and there is tibial bone and fibula shown. So the energy requirements of muscle exercise are met mainly by oxidation of carbohydrates with small contribution from the oxidation of fats. The glucose utilized during exercise is derived from glycogen stored in the skeletal muscles and the liver. Now exercise takes two forms. One is dynamic, another is static. Dynamic exercise such as walking, there is rhythmical movement of the limbs with flexing of the joints and alternating periods of contraction and relaxation of the skeletal muscles. In static exercise such as lifting, specific muscles, these are maintained in an isometric contraction for a period of time and the muscles perform no external work. Now this is dynamic exercise and this is stretching is static exercise. At rest, cardiac output is 5 liters per minute. In heavy exercise, cardiac output may increase up to 38 liters per minute, of which approximately 80% is distributed to the exercising muscles. In contrast, the blood flow to the brain remains essentially constant, while that to the splanchnic and renal circulation declines. As the exercise begins, there is increase in heart rate and mobilization of blood from the large veins. Regional blood flow is increased, systolic pressure increases, diastolic pressure remains stable. In static exercise, systolic and diastolic, both blood pressures rise due to contraction of muscles, which compresses the blood vessels and reduces blood flow. Now, injuries from road traffic collisions, drowning, poisoning, falls or burns, and violence from assault. Acts of war kill greater than 5 million people worldwide annually and cause harm. Training-related injuries are leading cause of healthcare visits. Initial physical stress among recruits for conditioning into military causes bone remodeling, which may be stronger than the original long bone and more resistant to fractures. However, when there is lack of rest in the third or fourth week of initiation of intense physical training, it produces a lag between bone resorption and bone deposition. This makes the bone more vulnerable to injuries. Now, cigarette smoking is a risk factor, and female army trainees are more prone to training related injuries. Certain biochemical factors like back and hamstring flexibility, high arches, bone geometry, genu valgum, low arches, restricted ankle dorsiflexion, and increased hind foot inversion. These are known to make a person more prone to injuries. Intervention of reduction in amount of running miles, gradual build-up of exercise and military hiking, and emphasis on aerobic activities in early training before progression to anaerobic activities and strength conditioning, they have demonstrated a significant reduction in overall overuse type injuries. Low fitness levels are associated with increased musculoskeletal injury and attrition among military recruits and athletes. Fitness components include aerobic fitness, muscle endurance, muscle strength, body composition, flexibility, mobility, and dynamic balance. Aerobic fitness is typically assessed by timed running performance or maximal or peak oxygen consumption. Low aerobic fitness is the component most strongly and consistently associated with increased injury risk. Muscle endurance measures ability to repeatedly move or load. Low muscle endurance has been associated with increased risk. Endurance is typically enhanced by high carbohydrate diet. It is measured by the time that they can sustain the race until complete exhaustion is approximately the following. High carbohydrate diet, athletes can sustain for 240 minutes, mixed diet for 120 minutes, high fat diet 85 minutes. Muscle strength measures maximum force generation capability, and body composition or body fatness is measured by BMI, that is body mass index, weight in kgs divided by height in meters square. Body mass index less than 18 and greater than 33 are at greatest risk. Then we have thermoregulatory responses to cold. When the peripheral vasoconstriction is inadequate to prevent heat loss, metabolic heat production is increased by voluntary heat production or shivering. Also, cold stress results in increased secretion of thyroid hormones and adrenaline, noradrenaline, glucocorticoids, insulin, glucagon for heat production. The immediate causes of death from wounds are hemorrhage, injury to a vital organ, neurogenic shock, or combination of any of these. Hemorrhage can be external or internal and may lead to death from shock. Even a small amount of blood loss may cause death by interfering with vital functions of the body. Neurogenic shock results due to sudden stoppage of heart and respiration. All wounds may become infected and result in local sepsis or septicemia, or infective process in internal organs, or necrosis of parts, or lacerated and deep stab wounds can lead to tetanus. Now, what is heat stroke? Physiological responses to a rising core temperature include cutaneous vasodilation and enhanced sweating. Prolonged exposure to temperatures greater than 40 degrees result in serious condition of heat stroke. Due to loss of thermoregulatory system, sweating is decreased and skin feels hot and dry. So, what is the treatment? Reduction in activity, shedding of clothes, drinking of cold fluids, seeking in a cooler environment, and respiration becomes weak, BP falls. And reflexes are sluggish. Convulsions and neural damage as temperature exceeds 42 degrees. Death follows unless rapid cooling is achieved. Then we have other injuries like crush syndrome or renal failure. This occurs due to muscle damage or burns. Fracture of long bones results in formation of thrombi. Trauma is also responsible for arterial thrombosis and embolism. Example, thrombosis of carotid arteries after stab wounds of the neck, and thrombosis of middle cerebral arteries after bullet wounds of the head. Fat embolism can result due to trauma. Like this is the embolism which is shown here. Then also head injuries can be like fracture of skull, cerebral contusions caused by extravasation of blood from traumatically ruptured blood vessels, cerebral lacerations caused by gunshot injuries or depressed fractures, closed head injuries like rupture of pyometer and cerebral edema. Hemorrhage to brain can be extradural between dura and skull due to fall in traffic accidents. Acute epidural hemorrhage can occur due to rupture of middle meningeal artery due to fracture, and this can cause unconsciousness. And then unconsciousness can occur due to concussion injury, and followed by consciousness due to recovery, and again followed by unconsciousness due to raised intracranial tension due to bleeding. This is called lucid interval. And subdural hematoma is due to vascular injury when the head rapidly decelerates because of impact to a firm unyielding surface. It's more common in falls and assaults. So this head injury you can see here. Here head injury. Blood clot is formed. So check the person's airway, breathing and circulation in head injury. If necessary, begin rescue breathing and CPR. I'll tell you what is CPR. If the heart's breathing and heart rate are normal, but the person is unconscious, now treat as if there is this spinal injury. And stabilize the head and neck by placing your hands on both sides of the person's head. Keep the head in line with spine and prevent movement. Stop any bleeding by firmly pressing a clean cloth on the wound. If the injury is serious, be careful not to move the person's head. If blood soaks through the cloth, do not remove it. Place another cloth over the first one. And if you suspect a skull fracture, do not apply direct pressure to the bleeding side and do not remove any debris from the wound. Cover the wound with sterile gauze dressing. This is example of cerebral contusion. That is an impact on the cerebrum. Now, injuries like dislocations caused by direct or indirect violence like blows, falls and muscular action. Shoulder, and this is a typical shoulder anatomy, shoulder joint between clavicle, scapula and humerus. Here this is showing anterior dislocation. Use this, you can see anterior dislocation here. Then we have acute mountain sickness injury. This is occurs at high altitude, causing cerebral and pulmonary edema due to hypoxia. Hypoxia is abnormally low levels of oxygen in the blood, increase in ventilation. Mannitol and dexamethasone, these relieve the cerebral edema. You can see here soldiers recruited at high altitude. Then physiological effects of deep sea diving. Nitrogen narcosis occurs at high nitrogen pressure. Oxygen toxicity occurs at high pressure. And CO2 toxicity due to deep sea diving. When the diver remains beneath the sea for an hour or more and breathing compressed here, the depth at which first symptoms occur is at 120 feet. He begins to feel jovial. Beyond this depth, drowsiness is there. Then subsequently strength wanes considerably. Beyond 250 feet, he becomes useless. This is a typical feature of diver. At high pressures, what happens? PO2 of partial pressure oxygen of blood increases, and there will be increase in dissolved oxygen. Extremely high PO2 is detrimental to the body tissues and causes brain seizures and coma in 30 to 60 minutes. And there is brain dysfunction due to oxygen-free radical formation. Then there is another term called decompression sickness. If the diver stays long for periods beneath the sea, nitrogen is dissolved in the body. And if he comes to the surface immediately, nitrogen bubbles are formed in the body fluids, causing tissue ischemia and death. And there is pain in the joints and muscles. So prevention is slow ascent, tag decompression, using helium, oxygen in spite of nitrogen. Then parachute problems can occur. Lines can become tangled during deployment, can cause canopy malfunctions, uneven descent. Sudden collapse of canopy causes rapid loss of altitude and control potential for injuries there. And wind conditions, strong winds can affect descent, drift off course can occur, and hard landings, possible collisions. Equipment failure due to malfunction of harness, risers, or parachute fabric can occur. This is the pic of parachute landing which I will be showing you. This is here. So what you should do to prevent parachute injuries? Parachute lines can become thorough training with certified instructors, regular practice and refresher courses, equipment checks, weather assessment, how wind conditions can affect the jump, body condition, maintain correct body position for stability to ensure smooth parachute opening, communication with ground crew and use of hand signals and radio. Then we have snake bite injury. Lay or sit down with the bite in a neutral position of comfort. Remove the rings and watches before swelling starts. Wash the bite with soap and water. Cover the bite loosely with a clean dry bandage. Immobilize the victim. Apply a tourniquet when bite is on the limb. 5 cm proximal to the bite. Should be released for a minute every half an hour and applied for 2 hours. Free incisions of the wound through fang marks and sucking with breast palm should be done. Now, benefits of adequate nutrition. Most of the energy is derived from carbohydrate during the first few seconds of minutes of exercise. But at the time of exhaustion, as much as 60 to 85% of the energy is being derived from fats rather than carbohydrates for a real endurance event. Protein is essential for muscle repair and growth, while low fats help maintain a healthy weight and promote overall well-being. The maximum breathing capacity is 50% greater than the actual pulmonary ventilation during maximal exercise. This provides safety for army men, giving them extra ventilation needed in exercise at high altitudes, exercise under very hot conditions, and abnormalities in the respiratory system. First, the maximum efficiency for conversion of nutrient energy into muscle work is done. Then, even under best of conditions, only 20 to 35% is used for muscle work. The remainder energy is converted into heat during the course of intercellular reactions. During heavy exercise for military in deserts, they have shown a problem of potassium loss in urine and sweat. So fruit juices are given as supplemental fluids. Then we come to bee bite. Symptoms of an allergic reaction occur after bee sting injury, like difficult breathing or swallowing, hives, dizziness can occur, chest tightness, swelling, and fast pulse. So here we apply soda bicarbonate. Then wasp bite vinegar can help treat wasp stings because acid in vinegar neutralizes the alkaline substance injected into skin during a wasp sting. Now, severe allergic reaction can occur called anaphylaxis, which is medical emergency. So signs that when you should seek help is swelling that spreads to other parts of your body, particularly dangerous if on the face or neck, hives, itching or turning pale, swelling of the throat or tongue, nausea, vomiting or diarrhea, weak and rapid pulse, dizziness or fainting. So what you should do in this wasp bite, remove any stingers right away. Wasp and bee bite, they have venom and will release it for several seconds after it goes in. Apply ice to the site, may provide some mild relief. Apply ice for 20 minutes once every hour as needed, and take an antihistamine such as diphenhydramine. So that is all. Thank you.